Think Colorado as just ski resorts and snowy peaks? Think again. Beyond the lift lines and luxury lodges lies another Colorado, one of hidden valleys, storybook towns, and wild mountain beauty. In this video, we're uncovering the most beautiful places to live in Colorado, where nature and everyday life meet in perfect harmony. Number 10. Mancos. Ever heard of a town where cowboys share coffee with sculptors? That's Mancos, a one-stoplight speck wedged between red rock and pine. Some say the name Mancos comes from Spanish explorers whose horses were injured crossing the river. Mancos meaning maimed, but revived in the valley's soft grass. Maybe that's fitting. This place feels like recovery itself. From noise, from hurry, from too much modern. Just under 1,200 people call Mancos home, though it feels larger when the sun hits the cliffs and the whole valley glows like a movie set. Founded in 1894, the same year it bet on railroads and saloons, it carries its history like a photograph worn soft at the edges. The trains are gone, but their echoes linger in the boardwalks and cafes where boot heels still tap in rhythm. The old opera house, built in 1910, glows now with gallery lights instead of vaudeville laughter, while the Bauer Bank and Wrightsman House stand nearby like elders who've seen it all and decided to stay quiet about it. But the real magic lies just 7 miles away at Mesa Verde National Park, one of the most extraordinary archaeological sites in North America. You can finish your morning coffee, and by lunch, be staring at 800-year-old cliff dwellings carved into sandstone walls. It's not a theme park, it's history that still breathes. Want to live somewhere that feels both ancient and alive? Mancos pulls it off. Homes range between $500,000 and $750,000. Rent drifts around $1,500, and groceries hover near $400 to $450 a month. Not bad for a place where your neighbors might be artists, ranchers, or an archaeologist on break. Number 9. Glenwood Springs. Ever been to a place that breathes steam and exhales sunshine? That's Glenwood Springs, town powered by heat, water, and wonder. The air smells faintly of minerals and sunscreen, and somewhere between the hiss of the hot springs and the splash of oars, you realize this isn't your average mountain stop. It's a rhythm. Tucked at 5,700 feet between the Roaring Fork and Colorado rivers, this valley of about 10,000 people hums with both motion and memory. Since the 1880s, travelers have come to soak away railroad dust in pools that steam through the snow. The Grand Hotel Colorado still stands from that era. Arches, ghost stories, and a rumor that Teddy Roosevelt once left his cigar behind. Back then, visitors arrived on trains. Today, they roll in on Subarus, chasing the same idea: rest with a view. Every June, the town turns sweet with the Strawberry Days Festival, one of the oldest in the West. Think parades under Red Canyon walls, art booths by the river, and locals serving free strawberries and ice cream like it's still 1898. By late afternoon, steam drifts through the Glenwood Hot Springs pool like a signal from another time. That's when most people decide to take one last dip, because here, even doing nothing feels like doing something. If you're tempted by canyon mornings and steamy evenings, know this: homes usually range between $900,000 to $1 million. Rent slides from $2,300 to $2,900, and groceries land around $500 to $550 a month. Call it the Hot Springs Premium. Still, that's the cost of living in a place where the rivers sing year-round and the sidewalks shimmer after rain. This mountain town has been soaking in its own magic for over 125 years. Somehow, it just keeps getting younger. Number 8. Trinidad. If walls could talk, Trinidad's would gossip nonstop about miners, cowboys, and the dreamers who showed up to reinvent themselves. The red brick facades still blush with coal dust, and the air hums with the ghost of old trains that once thundered down the Santa Fe line. The last big stop before New Mexico, it's a town caught between desert grit and mountain magic, and proud of both. At the foot of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, along the Purgatoire River, about 8,200 people call Trinidad home. Main Street still looks straight out of a sepia-toned postcard. Ornate Victorian storefronts, the restored Fox West Theater glowing at night, and the faint scent of espresso drifting from an old saloon turned cafe. It's not quite a mountain town, not quite a desert outpost. More like the place where both stop arguing and start dancing. Trinidad has always known how to reinvent itself. Once a booming mining capital, it became something entirely different in the 1960s when Dr. Stanley Bieber opened a clinic for gender-affirming surgery. The town earned the nickname Sex Change Capital of the World, and instead of running from it, Trinidad embraced the weird and wonderful. Artists, free thinkers, musicians, and wanderers began arriving, drawn to its open spaces and open minds. Beyond the murals and music, nature still steals the show. Just west of town, Trinidad Lake State Park spreads wide under the Sangre de Cristos, its trails weaving through cottonwoods and old mining ruins. You can still trace parts of the Santa Fe Trail too, dusty wide and full of echoes from wagons long gone. Thinking of settling here? You might be surprised how reachable it is. Homes usually range between $200,000 to $250,000. Rent runs around $900 to $1,000, and groceries hover between $350 and $450 a month. A bargain for Colorado. Number 7. Salida. What happens when a river runs straight through an art district? You get Salida, a town that feels like both a whitewater rush and a watercolor dream. The Arkansas River doesn't just pass through, it sets the beat. Paddles splash, bikes lean beside kayaks, and espresso drifts from an old train depot turned art gallery. Perched at 7,083 feet and home to around 5,800 people, Salida rests in a valley framed by 3 mighty mountain ranges, the Sawatch, Sangre de Cristo, and Mosquito. Peaks so tall, they make the clouds second-guess their altitude. Founded in 1880 as a railroad stop, its name means exit in Spanish, marking the way out of the Arkansas Canyon. Fires in the 1880s turned the wooden town to ash, but locals rebuilt in brick, giving downtown its red-walled character and a spirit as tough as the granite around it. Ever heard of a town that threw a festival because people refused to stop racing the river? Salida did just that. Since 1949, the Fib Art Festival, short for First in Boating the Arkansas, has filled June weekends with kayaks, concerts, and joyful chaos. Downtown turns into a carnival of paddleboards, live music, and locals cheering from the bridge as if every splash matters. Around it, more than 100 preserved buildings from Colorado's largest historic district, once home to miners and merchants, now to painters and brewers. But when the music fades and the river calms, the same creative current keeps flowing through town. It doesn't stop at the water's edge. It spills into workshops, studios, and street murals. In 2012, Salida became Colorado's first certified creative district, a badge it wears proudly. Between rapids and easels, you'll find glassblowers, muralists, and mountain bikers somehow sharing the same playlist. When winter arrives, Monarch Mountain opens just 30 minutes away, while the Salida Hot Springs pool steams quietly beneath the snow, fed by geothermal waters flowing since 1937. Thinking of joining the current? Homes range between $680,000 to $750,000. Rent floats from $1,900 to $2,300, and groceries average around $350 to $450 a month, the going rate for living somewhere that looks and feels like a painting come to life. Number 6. Silverton. How high can a town live before it starts brushing the clouds? Silverton's been testing that since 1874, perched at a dizzying 9,318 feet, where oxygen thins and stories deepen. It's the kind of place where your boots echo off century-old boardwalks, and fog drifts down from the San Juans like it's looking for a stage. Only about 600 people stick it out year-round, which makes Silverton feel like a movie set, one where the extras never left, just turned into locals. Once, this was gold fever country. Saloons clanged, rail whistles screamed, and miners cursed the mountains between the sips of whiskey. By 1900, thousands lived here. Then, the mines closed, and everything froze, literally. But Silverton didn't vanish. It just caught its breath, waiting for the next act. Ever heard of a town with one paved road and 1,000 stories? That's Silverton. Blair Street, once the red light district, still stages gunfight reenactments for fun. Blanks only, of course. The old Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad still chugs into town, whistling through canyons like it's 1882 again, carrying travelers instead of prospectors. On Green Street, lace curtains hang in Victorian hotels. Brick facades glow in the sun. In the summer, the town hums with hikers, off-roaders, and adventure seekers chasing altitude and adrenaline. Trails snake out in every direction. Kindle Mountain for quick climbs, Engineer Pass for wild back roads, and old mining routes that define easy access as wishful thinking. When winter rolls in, Silverton goes still under snow so deep it swallows street signs. The silence isn't eerie, it's reverent, like the mountains agreed to keep watch. Thinking about calling it home, you'll need sturdy lungs and a sense of humor. Homes range from $470,000 to $550,000. Rent drifts around $1,500, a small price for living in a place where history still breathes through every gust of mountain air. Silverton isn't stuck in the past. It's just pacing itself, quietly, proudly, waiting for the next story bold enough to climb this high. Before we move on, don't forget to hit that like button and tell us below, which Colorado town do you think deserves the title of the state's hidden paradise? Number 5. Ridgway. Some towns make noise. Ridgway makes rhythm. Nestled in the Uncompahgre Valley at nearly 7,000 feet, this small mountain town hums with guitars, paintbrushes, and the soft clang of creativity echoing off the San Juans. Locals call it the town that refused to die, and once you hear its story, you'll see why. Roughly 1,280 people call Ridgway home, though it feels bigger, like everyone's starring in the same laid-back masterpiece. Maybe that's because they almost lost it once. Decades ago, a dam project threatened to drown the entire town. Ridgway didn't budge. It dug in, fought back, and came out stronger. The stubbornness became part of its DNA, resilience wrapped in charm. Today, the Uncompahgre River winds lazily through cottonwoods at the edge of town, feeding into Ridgway State Park's deep blue waters just a few miles north. The air smells like sagebrush and espresso, and the streets are lined with art galleries that double as living rooms. You'll see sculptures outside, murals blooming across brick walls, and the old Sherbino Theater lighting up Clinton Street like it's 1915 all over again. And here's the twist. Hollywood's shiniest trophies start here. Every Grammy Award ever handed out begins its life in Ridgway, crafted by the artisans at Billings Artworks. In 2013, Ridgway officially became a Colorado Certified Creative District, but honestly, it's been one all along. Thinking about calling it home? Expect homes from around $850,000 to over $1 million. Rent around $2,000. It's not cheap, but life here isn't about speed. It's about stillness, beauty, and space to breathe. And when the day winds down, Ridgway reveals a quieter kind of beauty. Thanks to its strict dark sky policy, the stars remain untouched. The Milky Way stretches across the valley like glitter on black velvet, and the surrounding stillness feels like nature's own orchestra playing just for you. Number 4. Crestone. Imagine a place where the mountains hum, the wind whispers, and silence feels like music. That's Crestone, a tiny town tucked at 7,930 feet, where the San Luis Valley collides with the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. No traffic lights, no chain stores, just prayer flags fluttering in the breeze. Sunsets so surreal they make you forget what day it is. Only about 140 people live here full-time, yet it never feels empty. Maybe it's the temples outnumbering stop signs, or the sight of someone meditating under a juniper tree or walking barefoot across the sand. Crestone feels like one of Colorado's strangest, most enchanting corners. But it didn't start that way. Back in the 1880s, Crestone was just another mining town chasing veins of copper, silver, and gold. The mines fizzled, the workers left, and the valley fell silent. Then came the 1970s, and a spark. Maurice and Hans Strong, dreamers with a taste for the mystical, bought up the old Baca Grande Ranch and reimagined it as a living laboratory for spirituality and sustainable living. What began as an experiment turned into a legacy. Today, Crestone is a crossroads of faith and philosophy, a place where ideas and beliefs meet like mountain streams converging in the valley. Hindu temples, Zen centers, Tibetan monasteries, Christian hermitages, and New Age retreats dot the landscape like stars fallen to earth. You might hear a drum circle on one end of town and chanting on the other, and somehow it all blends into something that feels like peace. And that creative energy doesn't stop at spirituality. It spills into everything else. Everything Fall, the Crestone Energy Fair gathers inventors, off-grid tinkerers, and dreamers showing off Adobe ovens and homemade wind turbines. A few weeks later, the Artist Open Studio Tour turns the whole town into one sprawling, sunlit gallery. Thinking of staying? You'll fit right in if you like to build, imagine, and make things your own. Homes here are anything but ordinary. Domed, straw-baled, solar-powered, or carved from stone. Prices hover between $350,000 and $400,000, with rentals around $2,500, if you can find one. Number 3. Lake City. If peace had a zip code, it would be Lake City. Hidden deep in the San Juan Mountains at 8,600 feet, this tiny town feels like someone bottled the 1800s and tucked it between two peaks. About 430 people call it home, and when winter snow softens the sound of the creek, it feels like the whole world has stepped outside time. Founded in 1873, where Henson Creek meets the Lake Fork at Gunnison River, Lake City still carries the bones of its mining past. Brick facades, hitching posts, and saloon doors that sigh when the wind nudges them. It's one of the best preserved Victorian towns in the Rockies, partly because progress never found a shortcut in. Isolation saved it, and now that same distance gives it a kind of magic. Lake City isn't frozen in history. It just moves at the speed of mountains, steady, quiet, deliberate. And like every good mountain town, it has its legends. The most infamous? Prospector Alfred Packer, who was tried here in the 1880s for cannibalism. Locals still tell the tale by campfire glow, while the Hinsdale County Museum keeps the evidence and the intrigue alive. Step outside, though, and the landscape quickly reclaims the story. To the south lies Lake San Cristobal, a 340-acre alpine jewel born from ancient landslide. Its glassy surface reflects the peaks like a secret. To the north, the Alpine Loop twists through ghost towns and high passes so wild they look like they belong to another planet. Life here doesn't rush. Roads close in the winter. Supplies arrive slow. The locals wouldn't have it any other way. Homes range from $400,000 to $500,000. Rent runs from $1,200 to $1,800. And everything, from groceries to gas, travels a few mountain switchbacks to find you. But that's the trade you make for clarity. No traffic, no chains, no noise. Just a lake that mirrors the sky and streets that smell faintly of pine and wood smoke. Number 2. Paonia. Can you imagine living in a place where even the air tastes sweet? That's Paonia. Nestled at 5,676 feet in the lush North Fork Valley, this little town of about 1,400 people doesn't just grow fruit, it grows ideas. Vineyards cozy up to pottery studios, and it's perfectly normal to see a tractor and a mountain bike sharing the same road. Founded in the 1880s by settler Samuel Wade, who wanted to name it Paonia after the flower. Postal Service dropped the E, and the town never looked back. That little edit says everything about Paonia. It trims the excess, keeps what matters. But this isn't just a pretty postcard. It's a place that moves to its own rhythm. Every July, Cherry Days transforms downtown into a small-town symphony of pie contests, parades, and barbecue-scented laughter. By September, the Mountain Harvest Festival takes over with poetry slams, folk music, and dancing under strings of lights. In between, Paonia State Park glows with aspen trails, fossil cliffs, and a mirrored reservoir that reflects Mount Lamborn's jagged grin. Curious what it costs to live in a town this poetic? Homes ripen between $420,000 and $500,000, while rentals run $900 to $1,200. A sweet deal for mornings of fruit picking and nights of live music. Monthly groceries for two average $450 to $550, keeping the cost of living just below Colorado's average, and leaving room for a few extra bottles of local wine or a handcrafted mug from the market. In a world hooked on speed, Paonia hums in its own key. It's not about growing fast, but growing well. Number 1. Ouray. Ouray isn't just a mountain town. It's a living painting carved into stone and sky. With fewer than 1,000 residents, this alpine gem tucked into a narrow box canyon at 7,792 feet feels less like a town and more like a secret kept by the mountains. Founded in 1875 and named after Chief Ouray of the Ute Nation, the town grew from gold and silver, and its mining bones still gleam in the details. Victorian storefronts glow under snowlight. The Beaumont Hotel stands proud with its gilded history, and the Wright Opera House keeps its century-old stage alive. But this isn't some preserved postcard. Step a block away, and nature takes over. Box Canyon Falls roars through ancient stone. Its thunder a reminder that this valley wasn't built, it was carved by time. Above it all winds the $1 Million Highway, a cliff-hugging ribbon of road so breathtaking and railless, it demands both courage and camera breaks. And come winter, Ouray becomes a vertical playground. The Ouray Ice Park, carved into a frozen gorge, transforms into one of the world's best natural ice climbing arenas. Each January, the Ouray Ice Festival draws climbers from around the globe, their axes ringing against the blue crystal walls as steam rises from their breath. It's part sport, part spectacle, and entirely unforgettable. When you're done chasing adrenaline, serenity waits just down the road. The Ouray Hot Springs shimmer beneath snowy peaks, where steam curls into the starlit air and mountain silence feels sacred. Higher up, the amphitheater campground greets sunrise with gold light spilling over canyon walls, proof that even mornings feel cinematic here. Living in Ouray doesn't come cheap, but beauty like this never does. Home ranges from $600,000 to $680,000, while rentals run around $2,200 to $3,000. Still, the real price you pay isn't for housing. It's for the view, the hush between snowfalls, and that rare feeling of standing somewhere that still feels wild. We hope you enjoyed this video. Here's another one you don't want to miss. Thanks for watching.